Welcome back, all guys and participants of Strada International Conference on Health 2020. Ladies and gentlemen, I remind you to fulfill the attendance link on the link that the committee has shared in the Zoom chat. And now, in the second symposium, we will deliver four topics presented by, the first one is Mrs. Augusta Dian Eliana Eskop, Nurse MCUP. And then the second one is Dr. Yuli Priyostawati, Eskop, Nurse MCUP. And the third one is Mrs. Ratna Wardani, SSEMM. And the fourth is Mrs. Endang May Yuliana, Eskop, Nurse MCUP. And the discussion will be led and hosted by Mrs. Santi Natalia SST MCOS. But before we start the second symposium, let me read the curriculum vitae from Mrs. Santi Natalia SST MCOS. She was born in Nganjuk 25 December 1987 and from master degree in reproductive health from Erlangga University, Surabaya. She is currently got award the Retooling Vocational Education Program in Bendigo Kangan University, Melbourne University in 2019. And she has experience as laboratory practitioner in Satria Bhakti Health College in 2010. Now, she is the lecturer and also the chairwoman of Diploma for Midwifery in Institute of Health Science Strada, Indonesia. This is the summary of Mrs. Santi curriculum vitae, and which I can read, although there are still many interesting and proud achievements that has achieved. To Mrs. Santi Natalia SSTM, time and place are yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon. Respectable to all the speakers and all the honorable all participants of this seminar. Continuing this agenda of the second Strada International Conference on Health on 28 until 29 August 2020. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Santi Natalia, second session moderator. It is pleasure to see you here and welcome all of you to this agenda. Ladies and gentlemen, in the beginning of the second session, first let me introduce all the speakers. First, we have Ibu Augusta Dian Elina Eskop, Nurse MCUP from Indonesia that will presenting topic title Development of Cultural Caring Model Towards of Nursing Work Life. And I will read the curriculum vitae from Bu Augusta. Name, Augusta Dian Elina Eskop, Nurse MCUP, Functional, Assistant Professor, Date of Birth, Jombang, August 20, 1985, Subject Type, Nursing Management and Patient Safety. Educational History, Erlangga University, Bachelor of Nursing, and then Diponegoro University, Master of Nursing, Erlangga University, Doctoral of Nursing, 2018 until now. And then, as our second speaker, we have Dr. Yuli Priyostawati, Eskop, Nurse MCUP, that will deliver presentation with topic endothelial cell migration in HUVEC culture exposed to conditioned media in hyperglycemic condition. Here is Dr. Yuli curriculum vitae. Name, Dr. Yuli Priyostawati, Eskop, Nurse MCUS. And background education, Diploma 3 Nursing Academy Darul Ulum Jombang, Bachelor Nursing Program Erlangga University Surabaya, Magister Biomedical Brawijaya University Malang, Doctoral Program of Medicine Brawijaya University Malang. And then for our third speaker, please welcome. And then for our third speaker, please welcome Ibu Ratna Wardani, SSEMM. We will deliver the presentation topic, Did Perceived Impact of change can mediating trust and communication to employees' red lines in primary healthcare. And here, Ibu Ratna Wardani, curriculum vitae. Name, Ibu Ratna Wardani SSIMM, functional lecturer. And then date of birth, Kediri, December 6, 1978. Home address, Jalan Veteran nomor 16, Kediri. And subject tab, biostatistik, computer application, processing and data analysis, health economic, financing, and budgeting. For our fourth speaker, please welcome Ibu Endang May Yunalia as Nurse MCAP will deliver the presentation with topic Child Abuse and Neglect, Potential Impact Children During COVID-19 Pandemic. Here is Bu Endang curriculum vitae. Ibu Endang May Yunalia and address Jalan Mangkleng number 1, Kediri East Java Province, Indonesia. Area of interest, mental health nursing and pediatric nursing. Work experience, lecturer, head of the nursing program study, Kediri University at present. Education, Bachelor of Nursing, Kediri University, and then Magister of Nursing, University of Indonesia. Before the presentation begins, let us know the regulation, how the presentation will be going on. Firstly, I'd like to give the time to all the speakers to present the material for about 20 minutes. In the middle part, we will have a break for an hour. And then after second speaker for Jumah break. And don't forget to send if you have questions to our chat room. And now allow me to welcome the speaker, the Excellencies, Ibu Agusta Dian Elina Eskep Nurse MCAP to deliver her presentation. Please, Ibu Agusta, you may have your time.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Santi, for the opportunity for me. Good morning. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Ladies and gentlemen, maybe I will present about my research about development of cultural caring model toward quality of nursing work life. Okay, so this is screen ya. Nggak bisa slideshow ya? Nggak kena itu. Nggak bisa di slideshow. Oh, wes. Okay, first about the problem, why I take the topic, because caring is the main of part to get patient satisfaction, and then however, caring has only been interpreted as empathy and without regard to patient's cultural background. And the wave of health services marketing has changed from the excellent service era before 2080 to care with character era becoming caring value as the principle in health services. Okay, in this source, we can show that the patient satisfaction is increased in 2019, 2017, and 2018. Issues that are developing in the current era say that the decrease of QNVL is directing proportional to the decreases in caring quality received by the clients. And this case is often correlated to the low nurse skill in caring patients based on a research about caring. It shows that up now, caring is understood as only empathy in developing country. And as the effort of increasing patient satisfaction, a nurse must have a standard caring skill, I think, a standard caring skill to give medical services to the patient. Therefore, the goal of this research is to measure patient satisfaction and to observe factor affecting satisfaction itself. Okay, the chronology is culture shock and culture imposition are considered as factors that cause the decreasing quality of caring performed by nurses. And the solution, help effort to answer the problems above. It is necessary to have a study to develop a model about caring based on culture towards quality of nursing work life. And this is about the research methodology that I used from the data collection until the survey method. And from participant and procedure, this research was conducted on 180 respondents, hospitalized patients agreeing to join in this research, and the nurses. This study was used the maintaining belief, maintenance, knowing, being with, negotiating, doing for, enabling, and restructuring as a core of model prototype. And next, this is my variable about independent variables and my dependent variable. The independent variable are organizational characteristic, individual characteristic, work characteristic, technological factor, and the dependent variable are cultural caring and quality of nursing work life. And the results you can see from the outer model and in the inner model, the individual characteristic and the technological factor have relationship with the cultural caring and QNVL, but organizational characteristic and work characteristic have a relationship only in cultural caring, not in QNVL. This is the main. Okay, this is the initial concept framework before I get the research. And now the model prototype, the newest model is like this. Okay. At the conclusion, we found QNVL and cultural caring in this population is not good enough through QNVL and caring as the main key to the extents of hospital to develop. The second individual characteristic and technological factor have a relationship with cultural caring and QNVL, but organizational characteristic and work characteristic have a relationship with cultural caring only. The third construct of the new model of cultural caring, there are maintenance, negotiating in restructuring variable, integrated into the main construct of Swenson theory. There are maintaining belief, knowing, being with, doing for, and enabling. Can explain how the quality of nursing work life. And the fourth conclusion is future studies are suggested to use the cultural caring model as a basis for developing a caring model. Thank you. I think this is that I can present today. Thank you for the time. I'll take the time to Mrs. Santi. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning.
Okay, thank you Ibu Agusta Dian Elina. Ibu Agusta Dian Elina Eskep Nurse MKEP for giving such informative and interesting presentation. Okay, thank you very much. And then to the next speaker, we will continue with the presentation from Ibu Dr. Yuli Pristiawati, Eskep Nurse MKes. Okay, please Ibu Yuli Pristiawati, take your time.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Santi. I will present my research. The title is The Effect of Drying Temperature and Milling Time, a Total Flavonoid Level and Dry Green Tea Powder. This research get grant from Kemenristek Dikti. Okay, this is my team research. Dr. Zohani Kusnul, ya, from Stikes Pamenang, Pare Kediri. Okay, the background my research. Tea is one of the most familiar natural products consumed daily by the public. Indonesian is also one of the major tea producer in the world. Green tea has antioxidant activity, and then the antioxidant activity of green tea comes from a polyphenol content mainly from the flavonoid group. Oral consumption of green tea has many disadvantages that cause caffeine level reach very low circulation, including low absorption, low pharmaceutical and bioavailability, and the fast metabolism. Before I explain my research, I will explain the research. The first, I gave green tea catechin treatment in the UVEC cell, ya, in apa? UVEC cell induce high glucose. After high glucose expose, the UVEC cell become injury, and then I treatment by catechin green tea, and then improve, ya, improve tissue process, ya. Okay. The nanoparticle methods, ya. Nanotechnology is a technology for making particle size and very small. Nanotechnology has benefit in making nanoparticles for medical preparation or natural ingredients. Nanoparticle have the ability to penetrate high therapy, increasing the efficacy of drug and minimizing the toxic effect the temperature agent. There are two types of nanoparticle method. The first, dry milling, and wet milling. In this research, I use dry milling. The research purpose describe the process of synthesis and characterization of green tea dry powder nanoparticle and the effect of drying temperature and milling duration on the total flavonoid level of green tea dry powder. Methods, my research, the manufacture of green tea nanoparticle powder use dry milling method with fresh tea leaf as basic ingredient. Dry milling process is carried out using a microwave with a temperature variation of 50 degrees Celsius and 80 degrees Celsius and 1000 degrees Celsius for 4 minutes, and then dried in an oven with a temperature of 60 degrees Celsius for 2 hours. After the drying process, the characterization is done using two methods. The first, using scanning electron microscope or SEM, is the determine the solid morphological condition. The second is the determine two particle size by characterization of particle size analyzer. After characterization, divide two method, I use LSMS for detect flavonoid level. Okay, tool and material. The tool use a microwave and electric oven to dry tea leaf and nano dry milling machine with ball milling. Technology use the impact energy between the housing, ball, and the container. This picture is a dry milling, a nano dry milling machine, and then this picture and ball milling. I use the crushing ball and the container. Characterization of green tea. The first, I use method particle size analyze, use a Beckman culture particle size analyzer. And then the second, I use a scanning electron microscope by analyze the Sigma Scan software and the Nano Center Laboratory in Indonesia and the Puspiptek Laboratory in Jakarta. The next method, I identification flavonoid, yeah, quality analyze of total flavonoid compounds using the LCMS method, and at Polynema Laboratory, Malang. The result of trying stage 1 fresh tea with microwave for 4 minutes with varying temperature. This picture after trying, left tea after temperature 40 degrees Celsius. And this picture left tea after drying temperature 80 degrees Celsius. And last picture left tea after drying temperature 1000 degrees Celsius. And then milling results with variation in dry temperature. Oh, time is okay. Next, okay. Conclusion, my research from the result of this study, it can be concluded that the drying temperature and milling duration significant influence the measure flavonoid level in green tea powder sample. Drying temperature have highest flavonoid level. Okay, I think enough. Thank you for your attention. I apologize if I mistake. Wabillahi taufik. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
And thank you very much for Dr. Yuli Pristawati for such informative and interesting presentation. Maybe you can explain more detail in the question because we have collect some of questions in the chat room. Okay. And before we will continue to the third and fourth speaker, we may have a break for Jummah pray for an hour. And we will back at 12:45 Kediri time. So please don't go anywhere and please come back soon at 12:45 at Kediri time. Thank you and see you again.
Thank you, Ibu Arina, and thank you for joining back to the second Strada International Conference on Health in the second session. And now we will continue with the presentation by speakers. For the first speaker, Ibu Rani.
Okay, thank you to give opportunity to me to present my result of research. Okay, I will share screen. My title of my research with the title, Did Perceived Impact of Change Can Mediating Trust and Communication to Shape Employee Readiness in Primary Healthcare? Actually, I check my picture. So if you can know me so well, if you meet me on the way, you can to say hello to Mam Ratna. Okay, I will start. I take the research from the phenomena in the system of the health in Indonesia with the approach of management knowledge in the pandemic era. Background, because of the spread of the COVID-19 pandemic forced the health system to adapt changes at the micro, meso, or macro level, including a broad system of transformation. So
the question arises, how much is the capacity of referral hospital able to accommodate and manage COVID-19 cases? And so the hospital and the rule of health in Indonesia need a change. And this is a common challenge, and a change in the way of working is needed. Primary healthcare have an important role in prevention, detection, and response in the prevention and control of COVID-19. Because primary healthcare, and we usually call puskesmas, must be able to take the necessary changes in the management and delivery of its services. These changes need to be made to respond to the impact that occurs due to COVID-19 as well as to prevent transformation during service delivery. Change management is a topic in the management literature that has been widely recognized in the field of health. Change is a part of life that can be avoided by every individual in this phases of his life. Life changes basically follow a person's cycle pattern from birth and to death. The main challenges for implementing change is felt when some individual perceive change from a positive or negative side. So, how we can develop positive side? The first, we usually use communication because complete information could raise readiness for change. Managers' ability to accurately communicate with employee about change intervention could increase, accept, openness to change. And then giving information about intervention could emerge readiness change. And the second, we use trust to management because the trust factor is the most important predictor of an attitude of acceptance of the change process. In general, trust refers to an individual tendency to depend on other subject. So the contribution of my research is there has not been any research on readiness for change in the first level service facility. We always call puskesmas, which refers to change due to the COVID-19 pandemic, especially in relation to the service provided by puskesmas to patients. Research purpose, knowing the role of perception of the impact of change on individual change readiness. Sorry. Materinya nggak ganti. Di theoretical framework. Materinya masuk sampai sini. Materinya stuck. Dimatikan dulu. Ini sudah mati kan? Ini ya. Ini ya. Wes, Mbak. Jalan enggak? Okay, I will continue the theoretical framework. As an independent variable, I use communication and trust in management, and I have a mediation variable I call perceived impact of change, and the dependent variable I call its readiness for change. So I have two hypotheses. The first hypothesis, the first impact of change could mediate the relationship between trust in management and readiness for the change. And the second hypothesis, perceived impact of change could mediate the relationship between the communication and the change readiness. The result of our research, I have the 245 respondent, and the characteristic like our table: communication, have 4 items developed by Miller, and trust management taken from Weber and Weber had a 4-item scale. Perceived impact change taken from Vakola 20 and 14 had 3-item scale. I use only positive statement. And then the readiness for change, I measure using 7 items taken from Hamed et al. And 2017. The result, convergent validity, to know about the validity of the construct to measure the variable, and all construct have validity construct to all variable because my alpha and CR are not lower than 0.70 and the values of AVE and loading are also not smaller than 0.50. The results from that indicator fit indices of the structural model. I use a good fit threshold and I use acceptable fit threshold because my research only in the level of acceptable fit of threshold from that value. So the table of goodness of it so that match receive against the data. So from that result, we can acceptable and provide support for model acceptance. And the path analysis to use the hypothesis, we know that I have 2 hypotheses. The first hypothesis and the second hypothesis using perceived impact change as a mediation, and from that result, perceived impact change success to be a mediation variable. So I can say that the impact change perception was considered as a mediator variable of the communication and the trust in the change readiness. The result that had been presented in the table above revealed that the study supported the previous research. The perception of change impact could mediate communication and trust in readiness for change. The result of this study were correlated with the readiness for adoption as a mediator variable rather than it was an antecedent. The primary key that the adjustment recipient would accept or resist change was the perception change impact that arise from adjustment. And the COVID-19 pandemic, which spreadingly rapidly, has caused health services to change quickly, and the readiness of health workers is a critical factor. Individual trust in their supervisor influence health worker willingness to implement the adjustment in the technical instruction of the community health center services. Okay, I can directly to my limitation and future research. Okay. Can run very well. Back not to slideshow, Ma'am Santi. It's okay, yeah. Okay, I will about the limitation and future research because it is very important and can use to the future research. The limitation of our research, the first, this research is problem of generalization because the sampling technique is not randomized and carried out during a pandemic, so I using Google Form to get a data. The second limitation is that the readiness change is the multidimensional variable, but in my study, I only use 1 dimension. And the third limitation is the lack of literature to determine the relationship between the mediating variable and the readiness of a worker to change. So for the future research can be carried out using comparative analysis to determine of readiness of public health care or puskesmas based on the level of accreditation. Demographic variable can also be considered for the future research. And the third, individual characteristic during change can also be thought as a research variable. And the fourth, the longitudinal study can be conducted to establish a cause and effect relationship between study variable for better validity and learning. And the last, using multidimensional variable on readiness for change can be carried for further research. And the last, I say thank you for give opportunity to my presentation.
Thank you for your presentation, Ibu Ratnawardhani. And for remember, all the participants, if you have the question, please send me text to our chat room in the Zoom so we can read your question in the question and our discussion forum. Okay, and we reach in the last speaker. And for our last speaker for this session, we would like to invite Ibu Endang May Yunalia.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Santi.
Nurse MCAP. Yes, with the topic child abuse and neglect potential impact on children during COVID-19 pandemic. Hello, Ibu Endang.
Yes, Ms. Santi.
So you ready to present your slide?
Okay.
Okay, please take your time.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay. Thanks for the time that gives to me. Okay. I will try to share the impact of COVID-19 from a psychological perspective, and my topic is child abuse and neglect, potential impact on children during a COVID-19 pandemic. Okay, the COVID-19 pandemic is one of the greatest shocks the global stability. On 30 January, on 30 January 2020, World Health Organization declared the international sanitary emergency after the first cluster of people infected by COVID-19 evidence in China. The day after, the government started to define the first containment measure, such as checking people entering in the country from China or other country, in order to prevent the expansion of contagions in the country. Okay, and from the COVID-19 pandemic, increased the risk of physical, sexual, and emotional violence against girls, boys, and children with different genders identities. Okay, the COVID-19 pandemic is one of the greatest shocks here to global stability. And before the pandemic, more than half of all children worldwide live in daily exposure to different forms of violence. The measure to contain and respond to the pandemic have further increased the risk of physical, sexual, and emotional violence against girls, boys, and children. Okay. And then from government, self-isolation or lockdown, due to COVID-19 caused the life condition of families suddenly and deeply changed. Many countries have put in place measures to control movement. About 16% of all children worldwide now live in countries where a full or partial lockdown is in place. While children health appear to be less directly impacted by COVID-19, the outbreak and the measure put in place to contain it will deeply affect the environment in which children grow and develop. Existing inequalities and vulnerabilities become exacerbated in a crisis, exposing children to increased violence. And some children, for children with school, all the educative supporting service directed to children of all age were closed, with teacher providing online lecture for all the population started what has been called the quarantine. Yeah. Everyone is banned from leaving home except for non-deferable and proven work or health reason or other urgent measures. Yeah. Okay. And then what change happened in the home environment? The educational role of parents for children has become even much crucial than before. Yeah. Children have only their parents around them to provide support with homework when necessary and promote a positive development and new learning experiences for example, for toddler, preschool, and others. Second, yeah, the change happen is parents must taking care in the management of their children and of the home environment. Yeah. Okay, any other educational service and the care is cost, yeah, cost of self-isolation of lockdown. Yeah, many parents have also to do smart working and handling time, and spaces have to work with children around may be very problematic. Yeah, so quarantine means to increase the time that can be shared with loved ones. It also poses a major burden on parent soldiers called to take an educational role while also trying to live their own lives and get on their everyday jobs commitment. Hence, despite its positive effect in reducing the number of new infected cases, mobility restriction and social isolation of lockdown associated with quarantine are a major concern for families' psychological well-being. Okay. Many studies that there are psychological effects due to quarantine, such as level of post-traumatic stress were 4 times higher in children who had been quarantined. Yeah. One study found that level of post-traumatic stress, yeah, 4 times higher than in those who were not. Yeah. And then, yeah, what is fear, clinging, inattention, and irritability as the most severe symptom for young children during the COVID-19 pandemic. A preliminary study conducted in China reported the presence of psychological difficulties in children during the COVID-19 pandemic with fear, clinging, inattention, and irritability as the most severe symptom. The closure of school and the decision to keep children locked at home, yeah, was obvious, but the consequences of all this for families' well-being were barely considered. Okay. And then the majority of studies conducted during previous pandemic and from the beginning of the COVID-19 outbreak examined psychological consequences on the general population, yeah, causes effect on parents and children mainly and unexplored. Yeah. Yeah, one study found that level of PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, is for higher level. Yeah. And the closure of school and the decision to keep children locked at home was obvious, but the consequences of all this for families' well-being were barely considered. Okay. And then, yeah, family well-being can be disrupted because the parents' individual perception of the situation. Yeah. So the perception associated with parent stress, yeah, which is with parent stress cause children's psychological problems. Yeah. Parents will report to find more problematic taking care of children learning, finding space and time for themselves, the partner, the children, and for the activities they used to do before the lockdown are more stressed. The confirmed studies that found an effect of the limitation associated with quarantine on the well-being of adults. In addition, pointed out that this is stress significantly impact on children's well-being. This is stress that significantly impacts on children's well-being. Okay, and more stressed parents find more difficult understanding child needs and to respond in a sensitive way. And then stress is often associated with rude behaviors and difficulties in explaining limits and discipline. Children are widely recognized as a vulnerable population during disaster and public health emergencies such as pandemic. Despite this, their needs children are often overlooked. Emerging data from the ongoing pandemic caused by SARS suggests that severe illness in children is uncommon and mortality is rare. However, the nature and extent of secondary effects of the pandemic on children are not yet established. Okay, and the consequence of pandemic on children, such as increased risk of child maltreatment, physical abuse, sexual abuse, emotional abuse, neglect, or exposure to family violence. Okay, there is growing recognition of the increased risk of child abuse and neglect as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. Nearly 2/3 of reports of child abuse and neglect are made by professionals who have worked relative contact with children. Many factors might contribute to this risk for perpetrators: parenting stress, financial stress, mental illness, increasing substance abuse, social isolation, and negative interaction with children, all of which might be present and potentially exacerbated during the pandemic, are associated with an increased risk of child abuse and neglect, including teacher, law enforcement personnel, social service worker, and healthcare providers. Okay, and how to identifying and addressing child maltreatment? The first is assess risk, about family stress level and how caregiver manage stress, how the social support available to and used by family, alcohol and other substance use, and any recent increase in use, and looking for sign of stress, irritability, and depression in caregiver or parent. And then looking for harsh responses to child behavior by caregiver or parent, looking for signs of fearfulness and dysregulation in children, and looking for evidence of controlling behaviors by one caregiver. And second, identify vulnerable children. Identify vulnerable children is every clinical practice includes children who are vulnerable to abuse and neglect. During the pandemic, these children may experience even greater risk of maltreatment and isolation. Health provider should be aware of the risk factors for child maltreatment and pay particular attention to children in households where those risk factors are present. The third, recognize sign of child maltreatment. The first step in helping children who experience maltreatment is learning to recognizing the one sign of abuse and neglect. There is any book child abuse and neglect. Although many health providers are familiar with symptoms and suspected sign of maltreatment, the increased use of telehealth technology and the corresponding decline in person visit create new challenge for the health provider. History taking can be cumbersome without a face-to-face interaction. particularly where language barriers exist. Physical examination may be limited. Yeah. Health providers should pay special attention to children and caregivers who appear to be in distress and to the relationship between children and caregiver or parents. And the fourth, help caregivers manage stress. Yeah. Increased stress and mental health issues among caregivers are widely recognized in the context of pandemic. Government agencies, civil society organizations, and healthcare groups have allocated resources and share advice for helping caregivers cope. Health providers should be aware of specific resources that are relevant in their jurisdiction and know how to refer to them in case of a crisis. And the fifth, support child well-being. Yeah. Now, perhaps more than ever, children and caregivers are facing extreme personal and family stress, social isolation, and financial insecurity, and the absence of typical support. So everyone can play a role in maintaining the health and well-being of children, family, and communities. Yeah. Health providers should encourage all patients to support each other through the pandemic. Yeah. There are many ways that people can help, such as staying connected to family and friends, sharing positive news and acts to kindness with your community, and connecting families with virtual programming. Yeah, I think enough for my presentation. I apologize if any mistake in my presentation. Okay, thank you, Ms. Santi. I think enough.
Thank you, Ibu Endang May Yunalia Eskapners MK for your presentation, also your nice information. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we come to question and answer session or discussion session. I'd like to have some questions from the participant. Please, you can send to our chat room, and these are some questions who have sent. And the first question is asking about to Bu Yuli. Bu Yuli, maybe you can be ready. Have you previously compared tea to other ingredients, and why, and up to tea? You can answer now, or may I to the next question?
Okay, direct.
Direct answer. Okay, Bu Yuli, please.
Okay. Thank you for question for me. I explain the question from Mrs. Sania. I have never compare experience green tea with other substance. But in the journal and literature explain green tea have active substance polyphenol. Polyphenol in green tea have benefit 100 times compare vitamin C and 25 times more high compare vitamin A. And then in Holiday and Christiani research, 2016 explain activity test anti-diabetic green tea more high compare black tea and oolong tea. Okay. Okay, I think enough.
Okay. Okay, and thank you, Bu Yuli. For the next question, I found also for Bu Yuli again, asking about, from what I read about flavonoid, there are three kinds classification of flavonoid: bioflavonoid, isoflavonoid, and neoflavonoid. Which kind of flavonoid did you observe in your research in green tea? Or it for all kind of flavonoids?
Okay, direct answer ya. I use green tea have flavonoid group ya, flavonoid group. All flavonoid in green tea catechin. Okay, the specific flavonoid I choose catechin as a type flavonoid. Epigallocatechin gallate, epigallocatechin gallate, and gallate epicatechin. Catechin green tea has antioxidant benefit, inhibit adipocyte difference, and then regulation microRNA, and then inhibit injury for tissue. Okay.
Okay.
Group flavonoid ya. I use group flavonoid in green tea.
Okay, thank you, Bu Yuli. And the next question is for Ibu Endang. The children have COVID-19 problem.
Okay.
Get it?
Okay. This problem is about school problem, psychological problem, or other. If the problem is,
I think you can explain by your identification, maybe. Yeah.
Okay. As a clinical practice, yeah, we must know the sign and symptom. Yeah. If I talking about psychological effect or psychological problem about COVID-19, yeah, we must know, yeah, or the sign and symptom where children who are vulnerable to abuse and neglect. Yeah. In addition, for example, children will frequently miss schedule health intervention or appointment with health provider or immunization. Might be a group to target. Yeah.
Okay. Is that all? Do you finish your answer?
Yes, the point is we know the sign and symptom. Yeah, we'll have children that get violence or other that related with abuse.
Okay. Okay, thank you. And I see the next question. What do you think about the situation in Indonesia? Is that the same case? Are you clear with the question?
Yeah. Okay. Okay, Ms. Santi. Okay. In Indonesia, what is protocol about child abuse and neglect is also ready. Yeah? About protocol handling of children victim of violence in the pandemic COVID-19 by apa namanya, Badan Percepatan Penanganan COVID-19 ya. There is any protocols ya. Whereas in Indonesia, this protocol can also be used in dealing child with abuse or violence. Yeah. And then the team will mengatasi child abuse ya. Can be from the agency of affairs that administer child protection affair at the level province, regency, and city. So the point is in Indonesia, the protocols to child abuse and violence is ready.
Okay. Okay, then maybe we still about 16 minutes more to have discuss. And for the next question is still for Mrs. Endang from question from Husnul Khotimah. How to deal with a child who is bored with online and he is lazy to learn? And how can as a mother to not get stressed? Maybe do you have any tips to online board to children? Yes.
Okay, I think the parents or caregiver must be adapt, yeah, in this situation, yeah. And second, the parents or caregiver must have a positive perception about this pandemic. I think two tips apa ya? Itu adalah dua tips dasar yang menurut saya sudah sesuai untuk mengatasi hal tersebut, Bu Santi.
Okay. And next question. So many questions for Bu Endang. And why are young children more at risk of getting COVID? Then what are our steps for education information to handle it? How to handle it?
Okay.
Do you get what I mean?
Yes.
Okay.
The question what are young children? Okay. The first, the children is more weak than a child. Yeah. And then the second, Miss Santi, I apologize. Apakah boleh menjawab dalam bahasa Indonesia?
Yes, you can.
Okay. Okay. I'm sorry. Kenapa ya anak lebih berisiko ya untuk mendapatkan masalah psikologis nih ya dalam menghadapi masalah COVID-19 karena secara umum anak ini secara ini lebih lemah daripada orang dewasa. Kemudian secara tahapan tubuh kembang mereka masih belum matang dibandingkan dengan orang dewasa, di mana semua keputusan yang harusnya diterima oleh anak itu lebih besar pengaruhnya didapatkan dari orang lain. Salah satunya adalah orang tua ataupun caregiver seperti itu. Sehingga anak ini dikatakan lebih rentan berisiko untuk mendapatkan psychological stress ya from their parents or caregiver during pandemic.
Yeah. Okay. Hope all the participants can understand all the answer from the speakers. And I think it's enough. No more questions. So the discussion is finished, and before we close second session, we will give the certificates to all the speakers in the second session. Please to operator to show the certificates. For the first certificate is given to Ibu Agusta Dian Elina as Nurse MKes. And then for the second certificate is given to Dr. Yuli Pristiawati as Nurse MKes. Then the third certificate is given to Ibu Ratnawardani as SEMM. And for the last certificate is given to Ibu Endang Meyunalia as Nurse MKes. I'd like to thank you so much to all the speakers for information and interesting presentation, and to all the participants for very active participant. Hopefully the topics will be beneficial for everybody. Amin. Please give applause for all the speaker and for you all. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.